Welcome again to our continuation of the revision. And today I'm now taking you back to paper to work. We are again starting just like we did the previous paper from question 1 to question number 6 until we were able to finish it. Now that we have given all that was expected in paper 1, we dwelt much on the creation, and then from there, in the time of creation, there was the fall of man, and then God chased away man from the Garden of Eden, and he kind of maybe looked for the ways of bringing man back to him. But all his attempts maybe did not please him, or he was not happy with the steps which he was able to take. That's what you call God's plan of salvation. He did so many things, right from clothing man, giving man the means to get food, giving man the power to overcome the serpent. Then again, during the flood, saving the life of Noah and the family, calling Abraham, making a covenant with him, giving the Ten Commandments the time of Moses. We have seen him taking care of the Israelites uh, in the Exodus, calling so many prophets. Even the time of Jeremiah, they made the new covenant. I think from all those things he did, they didn't convince God that man was on his side. He wanted to do something to prove that indeed he loved mankind. And the only way God was to demonstrate this is through sending his only son to come to die for the sins of mankind. Uh, because we have mentioned so many um, things to demonstrate there will be someone uh, coming to save mankind from their sins. That is Jesus Christ. The attempt of sending so many prophets didn't bear the fruits which were needed, tried, but they didn't get into the satisfaction. That's why we talk about God meets us in Jesus Christ. We are going to start by looking at different prophecies concerning the Messiah, where we will be talking about some prophets like Nathan, whom we talked about in Form 1, I think during the time of David. Nathan may have shown some kind of light that from the lineage of David, the Messiah will come. Then again, we will talk about Isaiah. Again, he has talked more concerning the coming of the Messiah. Then Micah also, he had foreseen the element of the Messiah. Then Jeremiah also talked about the Messiah. So without uh, talking much, let us talk about the first prophet who prophesied about the Messiah. When you read the book of 2 Samuel from chapter 7, 3 to 17, we talk about Nathan's prophecy uh, concerning the Messiah. He prophesied something to show that it's from the lineage of David where the Messiah will come from. So in this case, we want to look at the prophecies concerning the Messiah according to Nathan. One, Nathan said, the Messiah will be a descendant of King David. That's what Nathan was able to say, that that Messiah coming will be a descendant of David. Then again, Nathan was able to say, number two, that the Messiah will establish an everlasting kingdom. So the one coming, his kingdom will not have an end. Then number three, Nathan was able to say that the Messiah will rule over Israel forever. So he's going to be a ruler of Israel forever. Then again, number four, Nathan was able to see that the Messiah will deliver Israel from her political enemies. But the question at the end of the day will be asking, did the Messiah come in the way Nathan prophesied? Another prophecy, number five, is that he said the Messiah will always be supported by God. So Nathan was able to see and said that Messiah coming will always be supported by God. Then again, Nathan went ahead and said another point that the Messiah will be a great king whose kingdom will be kept um, strong. That is, be a great king whose kingdom will be kept uh, strong. That's what was Nathan able to see concerning the Messiah. I know Nathan, when you look at him, you don't, if you are not keen, you may not differentiate between what is said concerning the son of David and also concerning the Messiah. So, those are the prophecies of Nathan concerning the Messiah. Then again, we go to the prophecies of Isaiah about the Messiah. A question maybe if it is said and asking, what are the prophecies of Isaiah concerning the Messiah? Here, uh, you look at the three sides because the book of Isaiah, chapter 7, 10 to 16, talks about something else. When you read the book of Isaiah, chapter 9, 1 to 7, again, it has more prophecies. If you read the book of Isaiah 53, again, it has the whole chapter mentioning about the suffering servant. Then again, you go to the book of Isaiah, chapter 61, 1 to 2, again, it continues. So let us talk about the whole of the prophecies because all of them are coming from Isaiah. Then we can break down to the suffering servant, and then we look at the titles of the Messiah alone so that it will not give a student a problem when you're explaining these prophecies. The last time that question was tested in 2023, the examiner marked all the areas concerning Isaiah. So the question was open. Sometimes they may be asking the suffering servant, title of the Messiah, like 2021. I think, yes, title of the Messiah came. And then this now, the student is tied only to mention the titles of the Messiah. But in this case, 2023, the question was open for the students to write everything. So here the student to write everything Isaiah said concerning the Messiah. So what are the prophecies of Isaiah concerning the Messiah? One, the Messiah could be David's descendant. That's a common point across, I think, all the prophets, they mentioned the same thing. Then again, he said he could rule forever. Another common point. Again, Isaiah was able to see another prophecy. He said he could be rejected and despised by many, then a man of sorrow, suffering servant. He could be treated harshly, then arrested and sentenced to death, and persecuted in a shameful way. That's what he was able, he started to see. Like that is now giving a summary of 53. He could be rejected and despised by many. If you read that one, it's okay. Then he could be treated harshly. That's what Isaiah says there. Then he said he will be arrested and sentenced to death and executed in a shameful way. Then again, number 4, he could be born of a young woman or a virgin. If you read that, Isaiah chapter 7, verse 14, it says he could be born of a young woman or a virgin. Then number 5, it says, the Messiah will rule, or during his reign, he could bring happiness or joy to the Israelites. His messianic reign or rule could bring happiness or joy to the Israelites. That is what Isaiah was able to see. Then again, there, Isaiah was able to say that he could be wounded for people's transgressions or sin. It's because of the sins of the people where the Messiah will be wounded. And surely we see this one happening at the end of the day. Then again, it says there, another prophecy, the Messiah will be called Wonderful Counselor, Mighty God, Everlasting Father, Prince of Peace, and Emmanuel. Those are the titles of the Messiah. I know there's a time that those titles were marked different, mention the titles of the Messiah. But in the prophecies of Isaiah, he said the Messiah could be called Wonderful Counselor, Mighty God, Everlasting Father, Prince of Peace, and Emmanuel with I. Then again, Isaiah was able to see that he could rule with justice and righteousness. That the Messiah could rule with justice and righteousness. That's what Isaiah was able to see. Then again, it says there, he was able to see another prophecy that he could have characteristics of normal human being or any normal child. He could have characteristics of a normal human being or a child. That is 50. Isaiah 53 verse 2. That's what Isaiah is able to see. Then again, Isaiah says there that his suffering could be through God's will. It could be initiated by God Himself. That is what Isaiah was able to see um, in his prophecies. And most of the things that Isaiah mentioned happens at the end of the day. I think like all of them happened. So that is what the old man Isaiah was able to see in the vision, and then it came to be true. Then again, now we come to Jeremiah's prophecies about the Messiah. Outline Jeremiah's prophecy about the Messiah. Reading the book of Jeremiah from chapter 23, 5 to 6. This is what Jeremiah was able to see. I think Jeremiah is one of the prophets who is coming, who is against the old school ways of doing things. For him, there is doing a different thing. That's why we have a New Testament, a new covenant during the time of Jeremiah. So, what is this that Jeremiah was able to see, to see according to the prophecies? One, he says, the Messiah will rule wisely. Wisdom. That's number one. Then he says, number 2, the Messiah could advocate justice in Judah, meaning the oppression. but the Messiah will ensure there is justice in Judah. Then he says, another point, number 3, he could be righteous. He could be righteous. That's what Jeremiah was able to see. Then again, he says, the Messiah will save Judah from her enemies and ensure that the Israelites lived securely. The Messiah will save Judah from her enemies and ensure that the Israelites lived securely or provide security. That is what Isaiah was able to see. Then again, Isaiah didn't end there because he said he could be called the Lord. He could be called the Lord. That's why you see in another story there, a man on his way calling Jesus Christ Lord. Is it fair for? And then you know what Jesus Christ was able to say. Then again, Jeremiah was able to say that the Messiah will come from the house of David. I think that looks like a common point among most of the prophets. Then again, he says another prophecy that the Messiah could reign as a king. He could reign as a king. Then the last thing Jeremiah was able to see that the Messiah will execute justice in Judah. So that is what we are able to see from the readings of none other than Jeremiah. Jeremiah hails from a category of the major prophets. Him and Isaiah are coming from the major prophets. Then next, we have this minor prophet by the name of Micah. Micah also was able to see the prophecies concerning the Messiah. He was able to see this in his book of Micah chapter 5, 1 to 5. He says this. Number 1, he says, he could be born in Bethlehem, that is, city of David. Is there anything good that will come from Bethlehem? Yes, the Messiah was born there, and that's what Micah was able to see. Then again, Micah, he says he could lead his people with authority and the strength of God. He could lead his people with authority and the strength from God. That's what Micah saw. Micah continued and said that the Messiah could bring the Israelites peace to fulfill God's promise to King David. So he could bring peace to fulfill God's promise to King David or Israel, if you want. That means Israel will have victory over her enemy. Another prophecy is that it says he will be born of a woman. So the Messiah will be born of a woman. He will feed his flock is a prophecy from Micah. Did he feed his flock? The feeding of the 5,000. We are seeing here the flock were fed very well. The wedding at Cana, we know what he did. Then again it says, his origin is from the old. His origin is from the old. Some books say his origin is from the ancient days. Don't go to the shortcut and say he'll come from the lineage of David. Just to say his origin is from the ancient days. Then, same thing here, it says he will rule in the majesty or the power of God. That is what uh, Micah was able to see. But when you look at the book of Psalms, David, a shepherd who came up with so many songs, himself was able to see something concerning the Messiah. That's what you call the psalmist prophecy. In the book of Psalms, when you read the book of Psalms, chapter 41, 9, chapter 1, Psalms chapter 110, 1 to 2, this is what psalmist says. The psalmist prophecy, as you call it. One, the Messiah could be betrayed by his close associates. At the end of the day, who is Judas? He fulfilled it. Then number two, it says, he could roll from Zion. Then psalmist says again, he could be honored by God. He could be honored by God and rule as his representative on earth. So he'll be honored by God and rule as his representative on earth. Then again, Psalmist continues saying there, the Messiah could enjoy God's protection and victory over his enemies. So here the Messiah will enjoy God's protection and victory over the enemies. That is what psalmists were able to see concerning the Messiah, and at the end of the day, we are seeing it. Let's go back to the book of Isaiah, chapter 53 and 61, 1 to 2. There is something called the concept of the suffering servant. Do we have, which is this concept suffering that we see in the book of Isaiah? Outline the concept of the suffering servant. So Isaiah here presents the servant of Yahweh as follows. There is something that Isaiah mentions there. He says, the servant will succeed in his work and will be highly honored. The servant will succeed in his work and will be highly honored. Two, Isaiah says this success and honor will surprise many who have witnessed his suffering. The success and honor will surprise many who have witnessed his suffering. Again, number three, we see the servant is despised, rejected, and ignored by those who are with him. They rejected him, was able to be thrown down in Nazareth, walked amidst of them in his hometown. This man was despised. He was ignored by many. Then again, another point, number four, he has nothing attractive, very odd, ordinary, and simple. He had nothing attractive. That is the Messiah, according to Isaiah. Then again, Isaiah continues to show us him as the suffering servant, that he is harshly treated, arrested, and sentenced to death, and even was killed. This man's servant, surely he was harshly treated. We can see the way they arrested him, the way harshly was treated. He was sentenced that night. Remember when he was arrested, to the priest, tomorrow morning you need an hidden council, Pilate, Herod. Then again now, Pilate again, then he was sentenced to death. Then at the end of the day, they ensured they killed him. Then again here we are told his body will be buried with bodies of rich men. This man came, Simon of Arimathea took the body and buried it. So that is what we know. He endures all done to him in humble silence. Kwa mtu mwingine angekimbia mbio, but he endures all done to him in humble silence. Another point, he accepts the suffering which should have been received by others. For their sins, he accepts the suffering which should have been received by others for their sins, because he was wounded for our sins, he was bruised for our iniquities. So Yesu alipitia mateso ambayo si yake. Somebody could have carried that burden. Those priests should have gone to another person, but he had to endure all that happened to him for your sins and my sins to be forgiven. Then again, through his suffering, human beings are reconciled to God. God's plan of salvation. Giving his only son to die, we see reconciliation. Then again, it was God's will that the servant could suffer. It was the will of God that the servant of God had to suffer that. Then again, his death is a sacrifice for forgiveness of sins. I think that's what we call the concept of the suffering servant. In the book of Isaiah 53, there we see the element of suffering as servant of God. But again, um, that's what we call the prophecies concerning the Messiah from Nathan, Isaiah, explaining Jesus in the titles given, explaining the nature of Jesus, explaining the suffering of Jesus. Jeremiah is coming in to explain what he was able to see. Then Micah was able to come in, and the book of Psalmist is coming in to explain what we have seen there. But why all this happen? Why is that? Why is all these things happening there? We ask the question, what was the Jewish expectations of the Messiah? What is this that Jewish expected? Maybe the Messiah delivered or didn't deliver. You know that their own expectation of the Messiah. Maybe it happened or it didn't happen. So what was the expectation? Kuna ile inakuwa na mahanja, kuna ile inasemanga this is what you are waiting, but you have not come the way we expected. We expected this, but you have given this one there. So outline the Jewish expectations of the Messiah. One, he could be a ruler from David's lineage. Expectation number one is ruling and coming from the lineage of David. For them, they were looking somebody from the lineage of David, because David was able to conquer his enemies. So that them talk about being the rule of David from the David's lineage there. They wanted somebody who could overthrow the Roman rule. These people praised, overtaxed them, and they were looking forward for the day of redemption. And that person to redeem them, it is none other than the person coming from the lineage of David. Because David killed Goliath, he defeated the enemies, and now the Messiah will be the one to continue to liberate them from the suffering which they were going through. Then again, they say they were expecting the Messiah to be stationed in Jerusalem, and other nations of the world could pay homage to him. Like Akwe Jerusalem, other nations will pay homage to him there, or appear in Jerusalem full of glory. Expect like Jerusalem ndio italeta, hapo ndio kutakuwa na matumaini. Akwe station huko, watu waende kumwona na huko, to pay homage there. That is what the Jewish were expecting. Then again, the Jewish expected that he could be a perfect ruler through whom they could receive God's blessings. He could be a perfect ruler through whom they could receive God's blessings, joy, and peace. According to them, no more suffering and death. That's what they were expecting at the end of the day. Then again, they were again expecting that he could bring judgment to all the enemies of Israel. Yani hata uliangalia wakasema, haki Yesu, Mesaya ile siku utakuja, utahukumu hawa watu wote, hawa maadui wa Israel ni wewe utawahukumu. So he could bring judgment to all the enemies of Israel. Then again, they were expecting he could be a ruler without sin and could not associate with the poor, sinners, and non-Jews or Gentiles. So he could be a ruler without sin, not associate with the poor. Look at the way Jesus came. Alikuwa na maskini kila wakati. He associated with the sinners, the tax collectors. He was even eating with them. And when they were asking, said, I've not come for the righteous, but the lost. Yes, why? And again, he could not interact with anybody who is a Gentile. Lakini Yesu alisema salvation is for the all. He didn't come for one. The story of the healing of the centurion daughter there. That one explains who Jesus Christ was. Even the healing of the 10 lepers, were they not 10? Where are the 9? It's only the non Israelites who came back there. Another expectation is that the Messiah could strictly follow the laws of Moses or uphold the Mosaic law. Yesu ni nani? He preached, healed on the Sabbath day. He went contrary to those laws of Moses. In fact, he said the Sabbath was meant for man, not man for the Sabbath. Yes. Then again, they were expecting the Messiah who could conquer the enemies of Israel as a military ruler. That's what expecting there, that he's coming there. Huyu atakuwa tu maybe ni military. Then again, they were expecting he could perform miracles and the mighty deeds. Tick, hiyo walipata. Then he could avenge Israelites' enemies. So kama ulifanya Israeli vibaya, akasema nyinyi yakikuja atarivenjia hawa watu. That's what they were expecting there. Then again, they were expecting a Messiah who could lead Israel into economic, political prosperity. Remember, the economy was down. Politically, they were under the Romans. So they're expecting somebody to lead Israel into economic, political prosperity. Then again, the last one is they said maybe they're expecting a Messiah who could come after the return of Elijah. Me and you, we know what Elijah did. Mighty works. He even went to heaven straight using the chariot. And we're expecting the one to come to be like him. Did he come like that one there? Maybe we'll see as we continue. Then again, now, that's what the expectation. But there is a man was in the wilderness preparing the way for the Lord. This man is none other than John the Baptist. What is the role of John the Baptist? We're going to see later how he came, but did he play any role there? The roles of John the Baptist, they are found in the book of Isaiah, chapter 43 to 5, the book of Malachi again. Malachi mentions something in the book of Malachi chapter 3, 1 to 4. Then again, Malachi chapter, that is 3, 1. And then chapter 4, 5 to 6. Again, he mentioned something there. And again, the book of Luke, chapter 7, 20 to 25, we see the roles of John the Baptist again mentioned there. So, what are the roles of John the Baptist? One, uh, John the Baptist was a link between the Old Testament and the New Testament. Uh, in fact, he came to link the two, the Old and the New. It has been a long time. Somebody had to link what happened in the Old Testament to the New Testament. Then another role of John the Baptist, number two, he prepared people for the Messiah. He prepared people for the Messiah is coming. So he's the one who prepared the people for the Messiah's coming by asking them to repent and be baptized. That's why we saw it baptizing people in Jordan. That's what's one way of preparing him there. Then number three, John held a prophetic ministry, and it's believed he had the power and the spirit of Elijah. So he held a prophetic ministry. Mhm. And many people have said and believed he had the power and the spirit of Elijah. If you read the book of Luke, chapter 1, 16 to 17, there you see what the angel told for the father. Then again, he preached to the people about Jesus. In fact, he preached to the people about Jesus, and then he told them is the lamb of God who could take away the sins of the world. He tells them that one there in the book of John, chapter 129. If you read that one, you can find there. Then another role there, he introduced Jesus Christ to the people of Israel as the Messiah. He's the one who baptized Jesus Christ, and he introduced them to him. Then John the Baptist condemned evils that were being carried out on Israel by the likes of Herod. He condemned evils. Then, another point, he condemned the Pharisees for hypocrisy and the pagan Roman authority. In fact, he condemned the Pharisees for their hypocrisy there. Then again, he broke the prophetic silence that lasted over 400 years, between the time of Malachi and Jesus. It was 400 years there. So John is coming in to break that prophetic silence that was witnessed there. Then he ushered people to the messianic age. That's why Jesus, you see in the book of Luke, he referred John as the greatest of all the Israelites prophet there. Then another role there, he foretold that the coming of Messiah was greater uh, than him. So that is what we see there. So those are the roles of John the Baptist. Though again, we mention the challenges John the Baptist faced during his ministry. There are some problems which he went through. One of the problems is he preached in the wilderness. We remember this a desert which has challenges. It's one of the problems or challenges that John the Baptist faced during his ministry. Another challenge, number two, he was imprisoned for challenging Herod's behavior. Again, was imprisoned. Then another challenge, he lived on locust and honey in the wilderness. Who can survive in those things there? So he was only eating the locust and honey. Remember, this is the wilderness. Getting even that locust is not an easy thing, but that is what he fed on. Then he led a solitary life. This man led a lonely life. Is another challenge. Then he was beheaded. This man was beheaded, I think, after sending the disciples to Jesus. Go and ask Jesus, is he the Messiah or should we wait for another one? I think from the time he got the information, Herod did what he wanted. Then another challenge there, he was misunderstood to be the Messiah. When you start the book of Luke chapter 1, 2, no, that's Luke chapter 3, reading there. When he was preaching in the wilderness, people confused Jesus with the Messiah. That's why saying, are you the one? In fact, he said, the one coming is mightier than I can't fit his shoes. Can't, it says he's mightier than I. In fact, he said the one coming, he gave even the qualities of the one coming there. Then again, he had a challenge in identifying Jesus as the Messiah. He had a challenge. That's why he sent the disciples in Luke chapter 7, go and ask him, is he the one or should we wait for another? And then Jesus is telling the disciples there, go and tell John what you have seen and heard. The crippled walk, then the blind receive their sight. People have good news to talk about. I think the disciples went and they told John the Baptist that there. Then again, another challenge is that the Pharisees and the tax collectors rejected the baptism of John. They hadn't been baptized by him. They didn't accept there's a challenge there. Then again, the last one, he was falsely accused uh, of being demon possessed, falsely accused or considered to be demon possessed. This time the disciples were sent by John and then they left. Jesus said, John came eating uh, nothing, drinking only honey and locust, and there you say, demon possessed. The Son of Man has come eating, and here you call him glutton. That's Jesus Christ being called a glutton because he was eating and feeding. And then they were calling him a glutton, watu wananga msimamo. So again, that's another challenge there. So we stop there. Uh, that is part one of question number one. When we meet now, we have laid the ground running in that now we'll be talking about now the annunciation of the birth of John the Baptist, annunciation of the birth of Jesus Christ. Then again we come to birth of John, birth of Jesus, dedication, the boy Jesus at the temple. Then we will be done with part two, and then now we start the ministry, the Galilean ministry of Jesus before we head to Jerusalem there. Until then, have a nice time. And the only justice you can do to the video is just liking and subscribing. Share with your friend if you have one. This knowledge is for free. You also do the same thing. God bless you until we meet again.